What is going on, everybody? It is Dylan with Astrodfs, bringing you a brand new video, and in today's video I'm going over week 7's Millie Maker first look on DraftKings. I will have a FanDuel video coming out tomorrow. Today we're doing DraftKings, so let's get into it. Let's see what we got, and let's see what just stands out. I just break down position by position, just look at injuries, matchups, prices, stuff like that. So let's get into it. So quarterback, we have one quarterback at 8K, Lamar, against Cleveland. Big division game there. Cleveland's been pretty bad against a run, been pretty banged up. And Baltimore's had some very, very shaky games this season. Kind of like they did last year too, where they snuck out quite a few victories. This year they're losing a couple. They're losing some. But I think overall it's a good matchup. Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs getting that rematch against the 49ers a few years ago in that Super Bowl. Justin Herbert, 7,200 against Seattle. I think that's really good, especially if they're going to have Keenan Allen back. That's definitely a great look there. Joe Burrow against Atlanta. I think that's a great matchup. I like his price. Dak, if Dak is back, which I imagine Dak will be back, 67 against Detroit. Good matchup, one of the worst defenses in the league. And we've seen what happens when Dak gets at least Michael Gallup back in the lineup. He seems more comfortable with Gallup for some reason. Even if he doesn't target Gallup, I feel like he feels more comfortable. But he'll have Dalton Schultz, Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, all should be back in that game if Dak plays. Tom Brady against Carolina, 63. It's a big division game there. Carolina might be sellers here shortly, so we'll have to see what goes on there. Russell Wilson against the Jets. I don't like that matchup. 62, it's another team that just is not seeming clear of what's going on there. Aaron Rodgers against Washington. This should be an easy bounce-back game for the Green Bay Packers on the road against Washington. Derek Carr, 5,900. I like the matchup. I just wish Vegas would start to be productive in the pass game. Jared Goff, 5,800 against Dallas. I think it's a good matchup. If Dallas puts up points, Dallas' defense finally got exposed, and I'm not saying finally like, oh, I wanted them, but you saw them give up more than 20 points. And now they're going against one of the best offenses in the league, and I'm not saying offenses in talent, just points. They put up a lot of points, whether they're winning, losing, they put up points. The last game they got shut out, but nonetheless, they're still a top 10 scoring offense. I still think they're top 5. Now, this is an interesting game. The Giants and Jacksonville. That is going to be interesting because the Giants have a really good shot of being 6-1 somehow. Can't believe I'm saying that out loud. No offense to Giants fans, but talent-wise, that team is just not where it should be for a 5-1 team. Nonetheless, they are 5-1. I'd say a good matchup for Daniel Jones, but I don't know who his receivers are going to be. And then on Trevor Lawrence's side here, who we're talking about, it's a little bit more of a rough matchup there. Ryan Tannehill, 5,700 against Indy. Tannehill's just never a huge fantasy guy for me. Geno Smith, 5,600 in this matchup. I think that's a good price, especially if the Chargers offense starts rolling. We've seen what Geno can do. Mariota against Cincy, it's a bad matchup for him. Garoppolo against Kansas City, I'd say a bad matchup, but I could see San Fran actually being able to put some points up. All depends on their health. Cooper Rush, if Dak is out, down there at 5,400. Still not a big fantasy guy. Matt Ryan, 5,400 against Tennessee. Now that's a cheaper play that I'd play this week. Jacoby Brissett, 53 against Baltimore. Definitely another play I'd consider. Carson Wentz is out. Daniel Jones I talked about earlier. Zach Wilson, a very rough matchup against Denver. Denver's defense looks really, really solid. Watching the injury news for Carolina because that is a dumpster fire. I don't know if they have them. I'm going to click and see. There's a second game. If we look at Carolina's quarterbacks, this is what they're dealing with. Their rookie quarterback out. Sam Darnold out. Baker Mayfield probably out. And then P.J. Walker gets a little banged up. The quarterback issues there is ridiculous. I don't think you can talk about any quarterback, good or bad, just off injuries alone. And then we get to some cheap plays. Taylor Heineke, 5,000 against Green Bay. If you've been on this channel and you see me talk about him, I am definitely a Taylor Heineke guy. He's an XFL quarterback, same as PJ Walker. And I just go for those XFL guys. I like guys that get second shots. Davis Mills, 5,000 against Vegas. This is definitely a play you have to consider this week. I'm not saying it's the greatest cash play or anything, but you're paying $5,000 for a quarterback against a defense who has just been so bad. So bad. That team in general has been so bad. But yeah, that's it for quarterbacks. Davis Mills, honestly, at $5,000 is not bad. Christian McCaffrey goes up in price after having a good game. He's got a very rough matchup here against Tampa Bay, though. Austin Eckler, another good game script for him. You saw him last night, basically. 16 targets for Austin Eckler. 16. He got no yardage. For a guy that got 10 receptions and only to get 24 DK points is crazy. But 83, good matchup here against Seattle on both the run and pass game. Derrick Henry, 8,200 here against Indy. Just watch the injury news for Shaq Leonard if Shaq's still out. Derrick Henry is definitely a good play there for me. Jonathan Taylor, if he's in, I'd say should be a good game. I see that game just being very close, whether it be high scoring, low scoring, mid scoring, whatever it is, the game's going to be close. So Jonathan Taylor, if healthy, should be involved. If not, we'll have to look at the other Indy running backs as we come across them. Nick Chubb against Baltimore, 8K. I like that, but I like Saquon for $100 less. Just looking at that, I like Saquon $100 less. Leonard Fournette, 7,700 against Carolina. Like, we have some really good matchups here. Aaron Jones against Washington. It's not the greatest, but I still do think that's a good matchup for Aaron Jones. His price is just not where I'd love it to be. Joe Mixon at 7K against Atlanta. I like the price. I like that matchup. That's definitely a play. DeAndre Swift against Dallas is not the greatest. Josh Jacobs, 6,500 against Houston. Good matchup. I'm wrong about Josh Jacobs. Clearly, if you look at him the last 2 weeks, Vegas has apparently changed their mind on him, and Josh Jacobs is now their running back. So, interesting to see how that plays out the rest of the season, but as of right now, they are using him a lot, and it's a good, amazing matchup. Damian Pierce against Vegas, 6,400. It's a good matchup. I like his price, but I think he is priced a little high. Like, Breece Hall should not be lower than Damian Pierce. Even if he's playing Denver, look at the numbers that just Breece Hall has been putting up. Like, really solid numbers from that rookie. Jamal Williams, 6,100 if Swift is out. Same thing, kind of not the greatest matchup. Edwards-Helaire, 61 against San Fran is bad. And then here comes Ezekiel Elliott, 6,000 against Detroit. Look at what Zeke's been able to do this year. Just pretty consistent numbers as far as yardage. Not huge in getting targets. They're not really using him in the pass game, except for pass blocking. Well, probably one of the better pass blocking running backs in the league right now. Zeke at 6,000, I think, is a very good price, very good matchup. He's one of the guys I'm looking at right now. Melvin Gordon at 6,000. I'd like to say that he's a play, but with what they did with him last night, I don't know if I love that anymore. James Robinson, 5,900 against the Giants. I think that's a good matchup, and his price is very good as well. Watch the injury news for the Colts. All three running backs are banged up, but Deion Jackson, 5,900, had a crazy game. This is what we expected Jonathan Taylor to do. Maybe not as much in the pass game, but as far as fantasy points, that's what we've been waiting on. Kenneth Walker, 5,800 here against the Chargers. You look at what he's been able to do since pretty much taking over that running back role since Rashard Penny is unfortunately done for the year. Jeff Wilson, I'd say, is a good play, but they're just not using him like I'd like in the run game. Pretty good matchup against Atlanta. They get down and can't run the ball. And he only gets 7 carries. This is a game where you're probably not going to want to run the ball unless you have the lead. A lot of teams don't run the ball solely just because of how good Kansas City's offenses and how high scoring, so that's rough for him. Tony Pollard at 57, I think, is a good tournament play. You're paying 300 less than Zeke, and Tony Pollard, same as Zeke, is as far as fantasy points. I mean, for the most part, been pretty consistent when he gets volume, gets more of the receiving game. They don't use him as much in the pass blocking, but he is pretty much going to be their receiving back. Be interesting to see of what changes with Dak being back there, though. AJ Dillon, 5,600. I mean, tournament, but nowhere near cash. Brian Robinson, 5,500 against Green Bay. Clearly, he is taking over that lead back role. Green Bay's never been the greatest against the run. Obviously, if you saw what Breece Hall was able to do. So Brian Robinson at 5,500 is definitely a play for me. Kareem Hunt is always in play, especially where they price him. 5,400 is a good price. Travis Etienne down there at 5,400, been used a lot in the pass game. Keep going down. Hines, mentioned the Colts running back room. Dobbins, if Dobbins is healthy, that's a good play there against Cleveland, but we're definitely going to have to watch that. Keep going down. Algier, 5,000 against Cincinnati. Just a bad matchup there. Keep going down. I don't think there's really anyone that stands out. I think the only play possible as of right now that might be a thing is Chuba Hubbard if McCaffrey gets traded. But I don't know if they're going to trade him. All right. Let's go to wide receivers. There's two above 8K. Jamar Chase against Atlanta. Definitely a good matchup there, even with how well A.J. Terrell's been playing. And then Devontae Adams against Houston. I'd say it's a good matchup, no matter who's on him. I'm hoping that bye week Vegas is able to figure out some things. Hopefully getting Renfrow, Waller, and Adams all healthy. Adams has been healthy, but as far as Renfrow and Waller, getting them healthy and good to go and all being on the same page, I'm hoping that Vegas team can play well. Debo at 7,600 is definitely one of my favorite plays, just looking at this player list and the pricing. 76, yes, you're paying up, but this is a game against Kansas City, and this is a game where somebody like Debo Samuel shines in. You look at the Week 4 matchup against the Rams when they get that win, and Debo is heavily involved. Gets 6 receptions, 7 targets, 115 yards, a touchdown, still gets 2 carries. This is the type of game where you want someone like a Debo Samuel, so he's definitely a play for me. Michael Pittman, 7,400, I really like him and his matchup. Amon-Ra is in play, but I'd rather go someone like a Mike Evans or CeeDee Lamb for that matter, but I think Amon-Ra is still playable. Dallas' secondary is improving, but I still think there's a lot of holes that we saw Philly able to expose. 6,700, Keenan Allen, if he is back, I definitely like his price, like the matchup. DK Metcalf against the Chargers, I like his matchup a lot, and at 6,600, it's a good price. T. Higgins, another guy at 6,400, like his price, like his matchup. Same with Godwin. Getting a lot of good matchups I'm seeing. Godwin against Carolina is definitely a play for me right now. Amari Cooper, 61 against Baltimore. Big division game. Usually see some of these players used a little more. Allen Lazard, 6,100. Allen Lazard, with the injuries going on in Green Bay, he's probably been the most consistent guy right now. But yeah, he's the guy I'm looking at currently for a likable cash play, but definitely a tournament play for sure. Brandon Cooks at 6,000, I think is a good matchup. He's definitely playable. Brandon Ayuk at 6,000. I don't know if he's playable because he's probably going to see a lot of L'Jarius Sneed, but we'll have to see there. And then this more bottom tier I'm seeing with some of the not bottom tier of player, but just bottom tier of prices. A lot of bad matchups, not just based off of the rank. That's not how I look at it. I just kind of think who's going to see him, whose matchup's going to be for the most part. Christian Kirk, Terry McLaurin. I'd say Terry McLaurin has a better matchup than Christian Kirk. Tyler Lockett, 58. I don't love that at all. Jerry Jeudy against the Jets. I don't like that. Juju against San Fran is a no. Robert Woods is a no. I'd say Drake London is a yes at 5,400. I think he actually has a pretty good matchup. Tyler Boyd against Atlanta has a really good matchup there. And a discount from Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, like always. Curtis Samuel is a no for me. You just don't know how they're going to shift their offense with Taylor Heineke. I'd wait a week before you start to get fully invested in Washington players. McLaurin is probably the only guy, him and Brian Robinson, probably the only two that I'm safe with. As far as other running backs, other tight ends, other receivers, I'm not really sure what they're going to change. Bateman, just watch the injury news. If he is playing, I do like his matchup and his price there, that's for sure. Michael Gallup against Detroit, 5,100. If Dak is back, I love Michael Gallup. Romeo Doubs, 5,000. Good price, very good matchup. And I'm not going to go any farther than that. There's a lot of receivers to talk about, and I can go a long way talking about it. Alec Pierce, 4,600. One of those rookies that I loved going into the season, so I'm happy to see him start to get more production. We have the big tight ends yet again this week. Travis Kelce against San Fran at 8,000. Not a good matchup. It is Travis Kelce, though, who, I mean, playing Travis Kelce is really never bad. I mean, even against the Chargers, he still gets 10 points. It's not like he's getting a dud. You don't want 10 points for what you're paying for him by any means, but it's still 10 points. Like, that's his floor, is 10 points. Is crazy. Andrews against Cleveland is a rough matchup as well. Darren Waller against Houston is a rough matchup. George Kittle against Kansas City is probably the best of these four matchups, but it's still not the greatest. It looks like we're paying down at a tight end again. TJ Hawkinson against Dallas is definitely not a good matchup there. Kyle Pitts against Cincinnati is probably, as of right now, the best matchup from all these bigger name tight ends. Njoku against Baltimore is a no. Robert Tonyan against Washington, I'd say is a good matchup. But I just see Green Bay kind of using the receivers in the run game here. And Tonyan kind of take the back seat this week. Gerald Everett, 4,000 against Seattle is definitely a really good matchup there. Dalton Schultz against Detroit, if he plays with Dak, good matchup. Hayden Hurst against Atlanta is a good matchup, especially with Jones now gone. Bellinger against Jacksonville, that Jacksonville linebackers core is really good. I like them. But as far as Bellinger, I'm just not a fan of that matchup. Evan Ingram, yet again, I'm not a fan of that matchup. His price is good, but the matchup is a little rough for me. Conklin's a no against Denver. Fon is a no against the Chargers. Isaiah Likely, no. We start to go down. The teams basically are the guys to basically watch for. John Bates, Washington. Logan Thomas, Washington. You're kind of watching to see the injury. You get a discount for more of a tournament play. I wouldn't recommend it in cash. It's just a rough matchup. I do believe Schultz is going to be back. If he's not, watch out for Ferguson. He's definitely a play. Watch for Cameron Brate. If not, Cade Otton is definitely a play down there. And other than that, there's not really anyone that screams value. And then there's just the defenses where we get two 2,200 cost defenses. The Texans against Vegas. Like there's some definitely playable. Browns against Baltimore. Jets against Denver. So there's definitely a lot of cheap playable defenses just looking at it firsthand. So I hope you guys did enjoy it. Like I said, if you were interested in a FanDuel first look, I will have that released tomorrow. Followed by Thursday, we'll be breaking down the showdown. And then Friday, just kind of looking at the injuries and what to look forward to there. So if you guys are interested in any of those videos, make sure to subscribe. So when I upload, you guys see it, pop it up, watch it, give it a view. And also, if you guys did enjoy this video, please leave a like. If you guys are interested in joining us for some NBA plays, NFL plays, NFL bets, fantasy advice, any of that, just click the link in the description for our Discord. You can join and find out what you like. So I will see you guys in the next one.